The next thing that we're going to look at is how to resolve conflicts. Once again, we're going to have to go into the command line in order to resolve these conflicts. Conflicts are a little bit complicated, and you should try to be careful and make sure you've got good communication among your team, just so that you avoid conflicts. Conflicts generally only come up when people are editing the same files. There are some ways you can avoid this, some things that you can do to make it a little bit easier, but inevitably you're going to end up with a conflict, and I'm going to show you a simple way to resolve it. So in order to demonstrate how we can resolve a conflict, I'm going to first need to get us into a conflicting scenario. Let's go ahead and make a change locally, and then I'm going to go ahead and make another change to the same file on the server. Let's go ahead and do this now. Let's go ahead and open up Explorer. I'm just going to modify the README file. Now I've made a local change. Let's go ahead and commit this. Now I'm going to go ahead and quickly make the same change on the server. So now I've made that change in both places. If we wait, this sync is going to update, and it's going to tell us that we've got a change that we're ahead by and one that we're behind by. Okay, so now we've got that change, and we're ahead and behind. We're going to go ahead and get ourselves a pretty scary warning message here. Okay, so obviously something just happened, something went wrong. It says it failed to sync this branch, and that is because we made two changes to the same file. Now, Git is pretty smart. It knows when you change a file, it makes unique IDs for everything and tracks all the changes. However, in this case, it can't figure out what we need to do since we changed the same stuff. And we don't have any special rules that are in place either. So we're going to have to go ahead and open up the shell to fix this problem. So now we've got the shell open. You'll notice that this window looks a little bit weird. There's some stuff going on. We've got a conflict, we've got green text, we've got red text. Clearly something has gone wrong here. Let's go ahead and check the status. When we look at the status, you can see that my branch and origin master have diverged. Origin master, you'll remember, origin is talking about the centralized repository, or really the place you're by default pulling from, and that's going to be GitHub, and the master branch there, and my local master branch are not the same. So we need to bring them back together. In order to do this, we need to go ahead and stage these. So we can either do a git add or a get stage, which you'll remember from the beginning are the same operation and one's just alias to the other. So let's go ahead and do that now. So now I've staged the README file. The next thing I need to do is I need to commit my resolution to the conflict. Let's go ahead and open up that file just so we can see what's in there. When I open up this file, you'll see that it has this section head and this section down here. When I look at this, what I'm seeing is the change that I made and the change that was made up on the server. Now I just need to decide how to resolve these two pieces and make the code work again. Since this is just text, it's pretty easy. We can also see that these are both the same change. And I'm just going to go ahead and decide which one I want to keep. So in this case, this text looks a little bit clearer, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this one in place and get rid of the rest. And then I'm going to go ahead and save. Now that I've got that change, I need to go ahead and do something with it. So I'm going to jump back into GitHub for Windows and commit my change. I'm going to go ahead and commit that. Now I'm going to go back to the command line. I'm doing a git pull here just to make sure that there aren't any changes that I'm missing, so nothing has happened while I was resolving, and then I should be able to merge and send everything out. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to GitHub to make sure that this happens there, so you can see with that. Obviously I could do the push command here that we showed earlier on in the course as well. and now we've resolved our conflict. So all we needed to do was go back, add the file or stage the file, make the change to actually resolve it, and then we're good. Our merge looks a little bit weird, so you'll see that what we had was these two changes both happened here when we look at our history, and then we have one change here that resolves them together and basically makes the change that I wanted to happen. So it deletes the one and re-adds the other. That's all there is to it. I've set up here an example that's very similar to our last one. This time we're going to do our merge a little bit differently, but we're going to run into a conflict in pretty much the same way. Let's go ahead and make a local change and a server change and watch what happens. Now I'm going to go ahead on the server and make the change there also. So now we've made that change in two places. Let's go ahead and do our sync again and watch it fail. Okay, so we got to the same error that we had before. We definitely failed to sync the branch. Let's go ahead and resolve it a little bit differently. This time when I open up the shell, I'm going to go ahead and check status again. So we can see that we're in the same situation as before. We've got our local branch and the master origin branch have diverged, and we need to make sure that we bring everything back together correctly. This time, what we're going to do instead is use the git merge tool operation instead. I'm going to go ahead and pass a parameter to this that will give us the information about it first. So this provides us with a decent amount of information. Since we're on the command line, obviously you are watching a course on GitHub for Windows, not Get the Command Line, so you'd like to solve things with some kind of a GUI, rather than here on the command line. So the merge tool is going to let us do that. It's going to let us do our merge from a UI. What we need to do instead is make sure that we choose the correct one. There are, you'll notice, some options that are here by default, as well as some options which are not available. This list is actually all a bunch of different diffing tools. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and run tortoise merge in order to do this demo, just because I think a lot of people that watch this course are going to be used to that. But if any of these others are tools that you know how to use, go ahead and install them and you can use them as well. So what I'm going to do is pass in a parameter telling it which tool I want to use, because by default, you're probably not configured to the tool that you want. Now in this case, I'm not going to pass in the file that I want to use because there is only one file, and it's just going to go ahead and load that one by default. So you'll notice that it brings up tortoise merge here. And then you can see that I've got my two changes, and I can now decide how to resolve them. I think I'm going to go ahead and resolve it by using my change. So this is mine, this is theirs. I'm going to go ahead and say to include mine. So I'm choosing that line to be the one that I keep. So now I've made the change. Let's go ahead and close out of this. Now you can see that I've fixed that, and you'll notice that the green and the red are now gone. So it doesn't have this plus, the tilde, the minus, the exclamation point. None of that's there anymore. So now I can go ahead and fix this. Actually, before I do that, there's one more thing that I need to change, which is that I need to commit. Almost forgot. So I did make a change, but I need to commit it. So now that that's been committed, now I can go ahead and sync. And there you go. That's how you can use the merge tool instead of having to just open up the file and deal with that those two sections, the head and the other piece. So that way you can use a GUI the whole way, and you just need the command line to open up the tool to make the resolution. So if that makes more sense for you, then use that approach.